In a recent interview on Vlad TV, Grant Cardone once again reinforced why he should absolutely not be looked to for any sort of personal financial planning advice. As I've shown in past videos, his statements on personal finance are just one train wreck after another. This time around, he makes the case that Americans do not need to have an emergency fund. And if you're ever in a position where you did have an emergency, you need to stop being lazy and get back to work. Let's roll the first clip.
Well, you said 10 things you would never do again.
Okay.
College is number one.
Yeah, I did. See, I'm consistent.
Emergency savings.
Yeah.
You have no emergency savings?
I mean, look, no, not really. I don't need any.
Okay, here Cardone is saying that he personally does not need an emergency fund. Well, this is interesting because we know that Grant Cardone is not impervious to financial setbacks. In fact, in a different interview, he talks about how the real estate crisis of 2010 nearly wiped him out. Take a listen.
Because when 2010 came, it took us all out. Like, everybody got washed out.
Yeah.
So my first business got cut in half. The second business got cut by 80%. And the real estate, I couldn't move any real estate. I couldn't sell it. The bank that I owed the bank $52 million, they went under. And I'm like, okay, glad that wasn't me. But the problem is when the bank goes under,
Right.
when the boat that you're on goes down,
Right.
and the new bank comes in, the new bank says, we got some new rules.
You pay me.
It was called the technical default. And anybody, whoever, if the loan changed names, ownership, they could call the loan.
Yeah. They were doing crazy back then.
Yeah,
Cutting credit lines. It was unbelievable. I know.
Yeah.
So that was, so when did that hit the bottom? 2010? What was the worst part?
And I mean, there was no bottom right there. It was like, oh, I got it. How long am I going to get dragged out, right? We didn't lose anything. I didn't go bankrupt. I didn't lose anything. All my buddies that were buying real estate and really doing a lot of no money down stuff, they lost everything. But I was terrified. Okay, I was so scared. I thought I'd left my family down, and we couldn't expand. I was too scared to expand, even though I had some cash. I had a great opportunity to invest in a great company. I would have. I love the guy, and he wanted $1 million, a measly $1 million. I had it, but I couldn't give it to him, dude, because I was so scared. And so I realized then I will never be in this position again. That was 10 years ago.
So clearly bad things can happen in life. Clearly the tide can turn, and unless you have access to cash, even if you have huge real estate holdings, you can be completely wiped out, as very nearly happened to Grant Cardone and as did happen to a number of his close friends. Okay, so if titans like Grant Cardone can almost get wiped off the map during a market correction, then doesn't that make those with very little money even more vulnerable? Clearly, Main Street America should have a store of cash on hand to tide them over until they see brighter days, right? Nope. Take a listen to what he says next.
I don't need emergency savings. This was another bank myth. You need 3 months of savings in case of the big emergency. Dude, if you have an emergency, you need to go to work. You need to go hustle is what you need to do.
In 2022.
Savers stay broke, bro.
So you shouldn't set your money aside for a rainy day. You should invest it in real estate. And if you ever fall on hard times, you need to stop being lazy, hit the pavement, and drum up some more real estate opportunities. I don't know. All this feels just a little bit out of touch. Well, it gets worse. In the next clip, Grant explains what you should do if you've fallen on hard times and are down to your last $1,000.
A guy's sitting there right now watching this, and I got my last grand, dude, and I got Christmas coming. Should he spend it on this?
Absolutely.
I would tell you the same thing.
Starting to see a pattern yet? Folks, please, please, please do not take any personal finance advice from Grant Cardone. He does not have your best interest at heart and is actively persuading people to spend their very last dollars that should be in their emergency fund, on a Grant Cardone real estate marketing program. Okay, now that we've established that Grant Cardone is not to be trusted for any sort of personal finance advice, let's talk about why you actually should have an emergency fund. And I think at this point the reason is rather obvious. Emergencies can and will happen. I'm talking about loss of employment, a hole in your roof, you need a new transmission on your car, a health crisis, a family emergency, or in the case of Grant Cardone and his buddies, a massive correction in the real estate market. The whole idea is to have money on hand that you can access without penalties or fees, and where you won't have to sell an asset while the market is down. That's precisely why 401ks and IRAs, for example, are terrible emergency funds. You can pay taxes and penalties of between 30 and 40% and be forced to liquidate at a loss. That could be a blow from which your retirement plan never, ever recovers. And how much should you have in your emergency fund? This is something that nearly all financial gurus agree upon, from Susie Orman to Dave Ramsey to Clark Howard to Ramit Sethi. You need 6 months worth of basic living expenses. It's that simple. Put the money in a high-yield savings account where at the very least it's keeping up with inflation. Will you experience some opportunity cost by having money in these accounts? Sure, but that cost isn't nearly so great as what you'll lose if you liquidate your IRAs and 401ks in a time of need. In short, Grant Cardone does not have your best interest at heart, and his anti-emergency fund stance is just one more reason why you shouldn't look to him or any of his cronies for personal financial planning advice. Folks, my upcoming book, The Guru Gap, How America's Financial Gurus Are Leading You Astray and How to Get Back on Track, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Take the opportunity to order your copy today. By the way, in the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 1 million Americans on the road to the 0% tax bracket. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes, head on over to davidmcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Power Zero network that's been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.